Ready.
Good evening, everyone. We'll go ahead and start this meeting. The first item on the agenda to consider approving the minutes held from September 28th and October 12th.
I'll make a motion, we accept those 2 minutes and sign the disbursement warrant.
I'll second.
Mark second, all in favor? Thank you. Next item on the agenda is vote to sign updated contract with Hilltop Communications.
Our contract has actually expired, and Bill caught it, and he came in. I believe you all got a copy of that contract. It's word for word the same as it was at the last contract. I've got a copy of the old contract here. The only change was the increases. Instead of last contract involved 5% increases, this one is brought down to 3% increases on an annual increase. There is a increase, the initial contract for the 3%, which I believe is $97 a floor. So bring that.
The last, I didn't look at the old contract, but the last one had set increases for the 5 years too.
Yeah.
I didn't remember.
3%, I've got it right here if you need to see it.
No, I don't.
Yeah, it's
I
the
couldn't
same
remember
thing.
whether it was on the CPI or whether it was a set increase.
Set increase. And, services is great, there's no problems with it, he's the only game in town, we need it for emergency services, and those are good.
It seemed to me that, you know, the 3% increase was kind of high with the CPI we're getting now. We got 0.5% last year or something, 0.03 this year or something.
Yeah, I mean, we can certainly bring it back and try to renegotiate it. We don't have an issue
I
with
don't
that.
think we got, there's no other choice. I mean, we got,
We don't have any, there's no competition,
all right,
and his prices are market prices.
yeah, it's working well for us.
By market prices, is that comparable to
Yeah.
all other?
It's about what the same prices that everybody's getting on a yearly basis from them.
And I guess the only thing we could possibly just say, you know, why do they need a 3% increase a year? Are their expenses going up?
Well-
Now, again, I'm not asking you that question,
Yeah.
but if we wanted to pose it to him and say, you know, nobody, the consumer price index is just under 2, and are your expenses going that quickly? And, you know, we like our service, but at the same time, we have to watch our dollars. And
Right.
maybe he'll say, there's nothing I can do, and in that case, there's nothing he can do, but it doesn't hurt to ask, I guess.
I can certainly arrange a meeting with him tomorrow, and we can talk about it and discuss the increase portion of it. We did discuss it when we came in. We talked about the last contract having 5% increases, and we dropped it down to 3%. And present it to the council.
Would I like to make a motion? I'll make a motion. I motion that we take and go back and ask him, as Don had said, is there something, you know, that's making this go up 3%? Does he really think 3% is fair for his fellow citizens in Oakland and the taxpayers in Oakland? Because of all other indications, nothing else is running that high.
Okay.
I'd second that motion.
All in favor?
Okay.
Don?
And I guess the only thing that I would authorize, so we don't have to bring it back again, is if he says, no, you know, that's just my expenses, et cetera, we need 3, we authorize Gary to do something different.
All good with that?
Perfect.
All in favor? Thank you.
Okay. I very quickly said, who's also.
We have some letters of thank you you'd like us to sign?
I've got those right there, Mr. Chairman. And that's per our discussion that we had at our last meeting, as far as the financial contribution to the audiovisual system. better, you guys can see
Oh,
each
see
other.
each other though.
And we moved Jan out from the middle and put her back here.
She don't like being a monkey in the middle.
Well, it gives you more space too, between.
Perfect.
She was afraid we threw stuff at her.
All good down there, or a couple more?
Sorry.
Yes. Well, let's go ahead, the item number 4, to review and discuss the safety committee meeting and policies requiring near-miss incidents or accidents to be documented.
Okay, as you're aware, Oakland has a safety committee, and we meet on a monthly basis, quarterly basis. And one of the things that we've discovered in our last meeting is that we weren't as active on near-miss investigations as we should be. And so what we've done is we've redone our accident policy to include near misses. And I actually gave you a form of the near-miss report that all the departments will have. And what this is gonna do is allow us to see how many almost accidents take place. And if we start seeing a large amount of people almost getting backed over, then we can do something to correct that. So this is just improving our committee and the effectiveness of our committee. I know, Dana, you haven't had a chance to review this, we just got a copy of it, but the rest of you have got copies, and basically, this shows the changes. We've updated our policy, we've crossed stuff out, added new word, verbiage in there. It just makes it more user-friendly for the town. There's no big changes other than the fact that we've added a more strenuous near-miss investigation policy.
When I read your form over here under 6, I put, it says personal protective equipment used, and I put a / not used, but then I read farther down into 9, I think you've got that covered there,
Yeah.
that would be where you'd list,
Right.
where you should have had safety glasses, and you should have had this, and that, I guess, so
Yep,
I'm good with it.
okay. Any other thoughts, questions, or ideas on this?
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah. Don?
Is the definition, or I guess the practical approach is, if something occurs but there's no injury,
Right. If
So
somebody
near
was
miss.
wearing steel-toed boots and the truck backed over his toe, it was an accident, but no injury, because of steel toe, you know, so we wanna know about this stuff. And it's gonna need employee involvement to make this happen.
it wouldn't include Mike running across the driveway, the guy's in the backhoe backing up. The backhoe doesn't see Mike, somebody shouts out to Mike to watch out. That's not a.
That would be considered a near-miss report.
So how close?
How close is close?
Well, I mean, you know, if Mike's running behind the backhoe and he's backing up and he
What if
just
he
missed
stops?
him.
What if he stops though? You know, I guess, I don't, I'm not, I don't,
Yeah.
it's just, it's a very hard thing
Yeah.
to sort of define
Yeah.
what's a near miss.
Well, and I think, you know, we're gonna accumulate these, hopefully get some buy-in, we're gonna train our staff to watch out for this, it's only gonna help everybody. And, you know, we'll have a chance to ferret through the junk versus the important stuff, and, as a committee.
And then as you go through that, probably you'll say, well, we got 8 of these, which, you know, it could be an unsafe condition, but it really wasn't an issue.
But we need to know that, you know, we need to know if we have an area that's unsafe, and this will help us correct it. We may not get buy-in from the employees, the staff may get lazy after it.
And that would be my only concern, is it gets to the point where there's so much paperwork, and they say, you know, these
But
things.
this is going on everywhere. I mean, most of your commercial companies have near-miss reports, and I think Danny was talking about CMP.
Yeah, anytime when we had the safety meeting, there's always an opportunity to bring up near misses. I mean, some people hate to, because they don't, usually somebody isn't wearing some protective gear they need, or they're not exactly following the safety rules, so it's hard to get them to bring it up. But
Right.
it's good discussion for safety meetings.
And it shows that we're trying to make an effort as a safety committee to improve, and it's working on. One of the things we're gonna talk about in the next item is setting up a count for our safety committee. And we're seeing a 35% reduction in our rates with OSHA because of Oakland's best safety practices. And last quarter, we got a $6,700 check back from them. So what we're doing is actually working, so we wanna keep this movement going and, you know, try and make it better. Is a goal for us. And it benefits the taxpayers in this town.
I think it's a great idea. I just have a question, what prompted this? Was it from the safety committee?
This was generated from the safety committee. It was actually, one of the times that, one of MMA's risk management people came up. They thought that our near-miss reporting was weak, and we needed to look into that.
I do have a hypothetical. Say 5 years in the future, we have a stack of near-miss reports. Somebody gets hurt. Could an employee or their lawyer look through all of the reports that we've had accumulated to see if there were any near misses that they could justify a lawsuit?
Yeah, you know, you can get sued today on everything, right?
I know.
You know, and I think that they can use anything we generate. There's no question about that. Anytime you put something on paper, it can be used against you. But I think that this would have more benefit than being harmful.
Yeah, I think you'd have more benefit in showing that you had discussed this type of incident before and done something to prevent it. I mean, if it happens again, whether you did prevent it didn't work, but at least you tried to
Right.
stop it.
Right.
I would think that would be good if you did have an accident.
And I guess that's the follow-up point, is if we start seeing a bunch of near misses with the same person,
Then you
You got-
identify the problem.
and you've gotta make sure you've done something as a follow-up with that, so.
And that's what, overall, the town of Oakland's operating extremely effective right now. I mean, we're doing it right. And, so, we don't have a lot of room for improvement as far as I'm concerned, because of the lack of people going to the hospital. You know, we haven't had any reports of accidents, so.
Mr. Harold Buzzell?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, was what Don said is, at Hammond, we have a safety committee do the same thing. Typically discuss near misses more than we do accidents to prevent them. And it shows you a trend. If you get one guy, get 5 near misses on you this month, it's like, who are they gonna talk to? Guess who? You know, that's what it's for, is really to show a trend, so, you know, you can discipline the person or retrain them or whatever the case may be.
It will show hotspots too,
Yeah.
No?
Yeah, that's what they
which is a good idea.
was talking about. They're just making it better.
Good, okay. Further questions? Good. Moving on, item number
Okay.
5.
If that's acceptable, I'd like to, didn't do any lines, just put your names and date on there, and that would be great.
Well, you just do a motion to accept it.
Yep, motion to accept it.
I'd make a motion, we accept this near-miss accident investigation policy and the policy and the report.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Thank you.
Moving on to the next item.
We as a safety committee would like to try to set up a small fund that we have access to. Right now, we have no money that's budgeted for safety equipment or training programs or anything like that. We feel that we've been so effective in lowering our costs, our insurance costs, that it would be nice to take $1,000 out of one of those $6,700 checks and put it into a safety committee fund that we can utilize if we have to buy a training program or something along that line that would benefit the safety committee. We've talked to Doug about it, Dave Coughlin and I have talked about it, and there's no downside to this. It would just further increase our effectiveness as a committee. It would give us, you know, I mean, if somebody couldn't afford safety toe boots and they didn't have it budgeted for it or whatever, that would never happen, but that's just an example of where we could take that money if we needed to. And the committee would vote as a committee on how to spend it if we wanted a safety training program. So I wanted to open that up to discussion and see what the council's thoughts are on this.
What are you talking for money?
$1,000, what we'd like to see in that account. We'd like to keep that every year up to $1,000. And, you know, and if we don't spend it, we don't spend it. We're not gonna look for places to spend it, but we do have a training program that we'd like to purchase, and it's about $350. And we'll have to take it out of one of the department budgets to do that. So we really, as a committee, would like to be able to have a small account for us to be able to operate.
Is the committee gonna set guidelines on what it can be spent
Yeah.
for and can't be spent
Yeah,
for?
yeah, we just wanna get the authorization, set this up, and, we'll put policy together on how we're gonna go and spend it. And, we've just started talking about it, and I just wanted to start talking about it with the council to see what your thoughts are on it, and gather any input or ideas that you may have on it that would help us. But, every year, the last couple of years, we've seen our rates decreasing, and we've been able to gain on that. And in this upcoming season, like I said, we're looking at a 35% decrease in our insurance premiums for workers' compensation, and that's a sizable number.
I think probably where John worked, and probably where Buzz works, you'll see him once in a while, they have a 5-year thing, no lost time accidents, and everybody in the crew gets a T-shirt or something like that,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
as a reward, that they went 5 years or 10 or whatever without lost time accidents. I think it's a good idea to have a little spending money there and you know,
But you said the money would come out of a return.
Right, we don't have the money available right now to set this up, but the next check that we get back,
Good.
because of our good behavior, we'd like to go and possibly try to take $1,000 out of that to set this fund up so that we would have it as a committee.
I'd make a motion, the safety committee have $1,000 that they can work with to reward good practices.
And the funds to be taken out of
Out of that,
the return check for the
Return from,
insurance.
so we get for a loss.
So what I'll do is we'll put together a policy, and we'll kind of beat it up as a group and get it to where you feel comfortable with it. And then we'll take it from there. Don, you see?
Don, you have a
Well,
question?
I just had a
Comment?
question. I assume that we have probably spent some money on safety training in some way in the past.
Every department has its own individual training process that we use. I mean, ours at the town office is online, which has no cost to us unless I send somebody out to train, specific training, which I have done that. And we have a small fund for that. And each department has that little bit set aside, but we don't have anything as far as a safety committee to be able to use for training. I mean, we could go to each other's departments and see if we can rob Peter to pay Paul, but the problem is, everybody's kind of got that money set aside for their mandatory training or any additional training they want to send their people to. This would be for in-house training, something that we can use this room for, if we want to buy a program, whether it be for proper use of forklifts or proper use of whatever, be video type training, something that, stuff that we don't have right now, you know. So if we hire a new person on who's gonna be running the bucket loader down there, and there's a certain training that they have to take, we could have the video equipment for, you know, or the video of that training that we can use.
No, I think it's a good idea, but I just wanna make sure that the
We're not
world
duplicating.
knows we have training monies now, we provide training as needed. This is an additional amount above and beyond what we can do by department.
Yeah, yeah.
So a motion made, do we have a second? All in favor?
Okay, and what I'll do is I'll use this motion, and we'll get together a policy, and we'll put it, and we'll see if we can work on it together, so we'll get it to where everybody's comfortable with it.
Item number 6, to consider the road name of Kobe Solar Energy Project. Kobe didn't name that themselves?
No, we actually, there's a process that we have to go through as you're aware. The general thought is everybody kind of likes a solar way for him, and that's kind of where and then let the council make the deciding factor on it. There's your 3 choices.
I had a question, who are the 2 people that voted on it here? Is that the fire chief and the police chief?
Yeah.
I thought it must be. And they both voted, their number 1 choice was Solar Way, so
Yeah, yeah.
I'd make a motion, we go along with their recommendation.
Perfect.
Second. Solar Way. All in favor? Solar Way it is.
I have a question, hold on. Do you know how far along they are on that, Gary? Have you seen it?
They haven't done too much. They've gone and done some clearing, and they've got some roads roughed out in there, but
Oh, yeah.
nothing that's, real.
I haven't been by there.
They've made more progress on Dunkin' Donuts up on the hill, I think, than they have on that the last couple of days.
Item number 7, to discuss enacting a 6-month moratorium on regulating the sale of or establishment of a marijuana social club.
Okay, I have, since I put this agenda together, I've had some communication with Lee Bragg, and he's recommending that we kind of put the brakes on this a little bit first to see if this passes. I've given you a copy of his email to me, and Title 38, Section 4356 addresses moratorium, and there's certain rules that you have to follow in order to bring this forward, and right now we don't meet any of the rules that are required. But that doesn't stop us from starting open discussion over what the council would like to do in regards to the possible passage of legalized marijuana. And, I mean, we had a town managers meeting here yesterday, and that was one of the topics of discussion is legalized marijuana and town employees. You know, whatever other towns doing, what are they planning on doing, and as far as social clubs and places that sell legalized marijuana, what's happening with that with other towns, and you know, this can pose a lot of questions as far as your staff. You've got police officers who you know, have the possibility of using deadly force, and you know, if it's legal 5 years down the road or 10 years down the road, is it gonna be any different than somebody having a cold beer? You know, so how's that gonna impact us? You know, as far as liability, and so we need to start opening these discussions and getting ready for this. You know, and I think that people are starting to investigate what Colorado, Washington are doing as far as their towns are. I know that we have to be very careful as far as not allowing a business to come in based upon what we're selling. There's certain rules and regulations. I gave you a copy of Waterville's ordinance. Most of you remember probably this summer of all the newspaper articles that were going on about this marijuana ordinance that Waterville was trying to come up with, and it boiled down to one sentence. And we talked with Mike yesterday. Mike Roy was here, and their lawyer, Mr. Lee, was involved in this, and you know, it's just the legalities and the potential for lawsuits are so high on that you have to be very careful how you handle it. And I was at a training on Thursday last week down in Augusta, and one of the lawyers, Alicia Tibbetts, was talking about how, you know, it's basically coming down to see what happens. You know, we gotta wait until this passes, and then from there we gotta try to brainstorm how we're gonna move through it. Government's different than private business, only because you have law enforcement, and that's a concern. You know what I mean? In moment's notice, you could be using deadly force, and if that happens, then you're gonna get tested for alcohol and drugs in the system.
You also have your truck drivers down there.
That's mandated, that's regulated
Federal
by federal.
regulations. Federal regulations.
Yeah, federal, yeah, so the CDL owners have to be tested, and, but anybody who's working for a municipality with a Class C driver's license isn't required to be tested. You know, so, I mean, this is opening up a whole bunch of stuff to be discussed.
Drivers from a municipality aren't required to be in that random drug test thing,
No,
like businesses
no,
are?
it's just your CDL holders, Class A licenses. And, we don't have mandatory.
Class A and B.
testing for-
Class A and
I thought it was A and B both.
Well, maybe it's B,
Yeah,
I'm
also.
sorry,
Because
A
I
and
think
B.
we used to have to send people randomly, their name would come out of
But
the
your buildings and
computer.
grounds group, I mean, they operate on Class C driver's
Yes.
license, I'm on a Class C driver's license, your police officers are all Class C driver's licenses. You know, it's, everybody's starting to talk about it, which is the same thing we should be doing. We should, if it's not on our mind, it needs to be on our mind, because there's all kinds of potential pitfalls for this. And, we just need to brainstorm through it and do the right thing.
I'm sure shortly we'll be able to get a lot more help from MMA and places like KB cog as soon as other,
Yeah.
you know, they get these laws digested and see what they are. And
I was talking with the town managers, and we were discussing this, it was like looking at a bunch of deer caught inside of headlights, nobody really knows what to do, you know? It's like, what are we gonna do? You know, so it's,
Even if no on one passes, it's, having marijuana on you is still a violation of federal law, correct? And if it's a violation of federal law, and we as council has taken oath to uphold the Constitution of the state of Maine and the federal government and the laws of the federal government, how can we justify having our police officers using
and I'm not
marijuana?
saying that this is ever gonna happen, you know, I would hope that, that would never come, you know, I don't know, that's, I don't have that answer.
And I guess the wait and see makes sense in one, for the most part, because my guess is whatever passes is going to be refined.
Yeah.
You know, the wording is not such that a lawyer would say, oh yeah, that's clear cut. So we wait till see what the dust settles, and we'll react, and we'll probably react 5 or 6 times before we get it right. That's gonna be the natural cause of it. It's when, I don't remember it, but I remember when you couldn't sell alcoholic beverages in a lot of the towns.
We can make a decision as a town to become a dry town and not allow any sale or use of marijuana in the town, or not use, but sale. And
And
so,
that'll be state regulated, the state's gonna decide, I'm sure, who can sell, it's like alcohol, you have to go through an application process to be able to sell alcoholic beverages. The state, just what, 3 or 4 years ago, we approved 5 applications or something like that, and that was the most we could have for our town. So it's gonna be regulated to a great degree, but there's still other implications of if employees use it, you know, if they're not on duty, if they are on duty, if it's a policeman versus a clerk in the town office, you know, it's different ramifications.
but, and the problem with marijuana is there's no real way of testing impairment with it. So with alcohol, you can blow into an toxilizer and it'll give you a number as far as what your level of alcohol in the system is. If you test for marijuana use, you're testing either positive for THC or negative. So, and that's where they're at. The test for impairment involves a DRE, and it's a 4-hour process, so and it's not real effective. You know, district attorney's office is dropping the cases as fast as they can. So it's,
Mr. Butler?
One of the biggest things with it too is, of course, at work, we following it pretty hard too, is alcohol. You have 2 beers or whatever, tomorrow morning, a few hours, it's gone. THC, depending on the person's body type, myself, got a few extra pounds on, it goes into fatty tissue. It can stay there for 2 weeks. I could get tested. If I smoked a joint right now, 2 weeks from now, I'd get tested, and that would come back positive. You know, somebody that's skinny, maybe get tested tomorrow and not come back positive.
You know, that's-
Yeah, John can test that. No, but that's gonna be one of the big drawbacks is, it's how long, because it stays in the person, everybody's different, a lot more so than with alcohol. And that's a medical fact, it's always been, you know, the THC stays in your system, and that's what they're testing for.
and, you know, so if, that brings up the other avenue, so you have a bunch of police officers that decide to go out to one of our local bars 5 years from now, and they're drinking beer, and there's somebody next to them smoking marijuana, and they're inhaling it through a secondhand smoke type situation. So now they're getting a kind of a buzz off, and the next morning, they're showing up to shift for work, they're involved in a deadly force type situation, they test positive for THC, where's all liability? So that just opens up this whole Pandora's box that, you know, this.
Police officers, like our fire department and public works are on call too. I mean, they can get called anytime if they need
10
an
o'clock
extra
at night,
police
2 o'clock in the
officer.
morning.
Yeah, so it is a good
It's a problem, and we've got to brainstorm through this somehow and come up with some reasonable rules and regulations, if we can. If we're legally able